Miss not exactly where they wanted to be come Thanksgiving weekend. At one point, the Rebels were ranked in the top 10 after winning their first 7 games. They've lost 3 of the last 4, and those losses have come by an average of 2 touchdowns. And to add a little bit of drama to the situation, rumors started this week that Lane Kiffin was perhaps ready to bow out of his job at Ole Miss and accept an offer from Auburn. Now, Kiffin responding to the rumors on his Twitter account saying, quote, "That's news to me," end quote. Ole Miss plays Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl on Thanksgiving. And let's welcome in Chip Patterson from the Cover 3 podcast to break it all down. Chip, the last time I saw you on HQ, I believe we had a graphic of Elmo on fire with your face. Yeah, just like that. It was that same face because you are, you like to stir the pot, give your hot takes. So I'm excited to play a little game of fact or fiction, college football rivalry edition, and see where it takes us.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so let's start off with the drama surrounding the Egg Bowl. We talked about the rumors around Lane Kiffin going, maybe accepting the head coaching job over at Auburn. So, Chip, fact or fiction, Lane Kiffin will attend the Egg Bowl and the Iron Bowl?
This is fiction, though it would be hilarious for 2 reasons. Number one, I do not think that Lane Kiffin has made up his mind either way. And I do not think that Auburn would make a move to undercut the Iron Bowl, because the Iron Bowl, especially with the job that Cadillac Williams has done as the interim coach for the Tigers, is really a unique opportunity for this team. And I think that to already move ahead and turn the page and try to undercut that with an announcement of Lane Kiffin and to bring him in, I think that that would be disrespectful and very much against everything that this Auburn community has done to support Cadillac Williams and the way that he has led this team to the finish of the season. Will Lane Kiffin eventually be the head coach at Auburn and introduced as such? Maybe, but I think that as we saw from Lane's own response to those initial reports last night, this is something where Lane has not even made his mind up. I think that Lane enjoys being at the center of all the controversy. I think he loves the buzz. And hey, if a little bit of buzz leads to a bidding war, which leads to new contracts and more money, then, that works out for Lane Kiffin as well. So fiction ultimately here.
Okay, so Chip, Georgia now 11-0, coming off kind of a lackluster win over UK. They are heavy favorites against their in-state rivals, Georgia Tech, 35.5-point favorites to be exact. Okay, so this statement, UGA punches their ticket to the college football playoff by beating Georgia Tech. Fact or fiction, Chip?
Fact. And I almost think that they've got it punched already before the game kicks off, but losing to Georgia Tech and losing to LSU is the only path in this universe that I think still exists that does not have the Georgia Bulldogs in the college football playoff once again. So if Georgia takes care of business and clean old-fashioned hate, gets that victory literally by any margin, Georgia will punch its ticket to the college football playoff, because a loss to LSU, while a little bit embarrassing, would still have Georgia at 12-1, still have Georgia with quality wins, and still have Georgia, a team that the selection committee has liked for so much of this season, right there in the top 4. So all Georgia needs to do is avoid total disaster against Georgia Tech, win by any margin, and I think that we are going to see the Bulldogs punch their ticket and be back in the college football playoff. We can judge them based on how they do against Georgia Tech in the win, maybe for seeding, maybe for our SEC championship game predictions, but a win by any margin puts Georgia in the college football playoff, so that is a fact.
Another team in the college football playoff conversation, LSU. They're 10-point road favorites against Texas A&M. Now, a little bit of a different situation, Chip. They cannot afford a loss if they want to play in the CFP. So tell us, fact or fiction, LSU is on upset alert versus the Aggies?
Fiction. Because this Texas A&M team, this Texas A&M program is nowhere in the same spot that what we saw from Arkansas in that scare for LSU just a couple of weeks ago. Because that Arkansas team, while they have a lot of injury issues like Texas A&M, they don't have a lot of availability issues. They don't have the rumors swirling around a mass exodus to the transfer portal. They don't have a stadium that is dumping out with fans because you are not beating UMass by enough points. I just think the environment around Texas A&M is not set up for an upset, and that LSU, which by the way did have a good response to the 13-10 win against Arkansas with a very convincing win against a good UAB team, I think that is going to be a good course correction for the Tigers, who go into College Station, favored by 10 points. But I do not think that they are going to have any issue with this Texas A&M team. Texas A&M is already ineligible for a bowl game, and I do think a lot of that roster is already starting to make holiday plans, and I think some of that roster is already starting to think about what their plans are for next season and beyond, potentially not in College Station. So LSU not on upset alert. We are going fiction here.
Yeah, and A&M trying to avoid their first 8-loss season since 2008. USC,
Yikes.
Yeah, yikes is right, Chip. Okay, USC preparing for a showdown with Notre Dame this weekend. Notre Dame on a 5-game win streak, while USC creeping into the top 5 in the AP after Tennessee's shocking loss to South Carolina. Notre Dame is USC's biggest roadblock to the CFP. Chip, are you marking that as fact or fiction?
I'm going to mark that as fact, because I think that while we don't know who the Pac-12 title opponent is right now, I think that of any of them, Notre Dame is the toughest test. Notre Dame has a very, very good defense. They have a great pass defense. Brandon Joseph, of course, is terrific up front. They do a great job of getting after the passer. And while the Fighting Irish offense would not be able to go touchdown for touchdown necessarily against USC, you factor in a little bit of that letdown issue off of the UCLA win. And I think being able to get up for this game, being able to go toe-to-toe with a Notre Dame team that is absolutely rolling right now, I think that this is going to be the toughest test. USC gets by Notre Dame, then I think that whoever they play in the Pac-12 title game, Oregon, they don't have a good pass defense, Caleb Williams is going to cook. Washington, they don't have a good anything defense, Caleb Williams is going to cook. You go up against Utah, well, we just saw that Utah's own offense is starting to struggle just a little bit. I just think that all of the potential opponents for USC in the Pac-12 title game are going to end up breaking the Trojans' way. I think that when you put in the letdown factor with the fact that Notre Dame has such a strong defense, this is it for USC, because 12-1 USC Pac-12 champions, that is a team that will make the college football playoff. But being a 12-1 Pac-12 champion requires a win against Notre Dame. So they do still have to win in the Pac-12 title game. But as we're looking at all the roadblocks, if it's the biggest roadblock between USC and the first college football playoff appearance since the format was first created, I do think Notre Dame is the biggest roadblock for the Trojans.
And another very exciting matchup, to say the least, Chip, Ohio State and Michigan. Ohio State surviving a scare from Maryland. They're gearing up for Michigan. I feel like I can't look at a picture without seeing an O or an M with a giant red X through it when you're talking about this game. They take it seriously up there. There's a lot of the line, of course, with CFP. Of course, also the Heisman race. You got CJ Stroud, Blake Corum. So fact or fiction, Chip, CJ Stroud shuts down Heisman race versus Michigan?
I think it's a fact, and that is not me speaking as a Heisman Trophy voter. Of course, we always have to, keep our opinions and our ballots tight until everything has already been announced. But as somebody who is a clear-eyed college football analyst who has viewed this race and this sport for more than a decade here at CBS Sports, I think that you look at CJ Stroud and you acknowledge that he is the star quarterback of a team that is competing for a national championship, and there is a good portion of the Heisman electorate that doesn't watch college football every single day, that the name Drake May might not ring a bell, that Caleb Williams, because so many of these performances are happening late at night, they are not much more than just the USC quarterback. If Ohio State wins this game against Michigan and CJ Stroud is a star, then I think the Buckeyes are going to be either the number 1 or number 2 seed in the college football playoff with a 0 in the loss column. And if the Buckeyes have a 0 in the loss column, and if they're a national championship contender, and if CJ Stroud continues to put up absurd passing numbers, then I think that Heisman voters, who, by the way, did make Stroud a finalist 1 year ago, I just think he's the easiest answer. You're not going to try to wring your hands over, whether you're going to go Blake Corum, whether you're going to go Caleb Williams, whether you're going to get a Drake May in there. It's just Stroud's the easy number one. And I think that if Stroud plays really well and Ohio State beats Michigan, Heisman's a wrap.
Chip, by the way, I really enjoyed your Heisman Trophy voter voice that you just gave us.
Yeah, so just imagine a snifter and an ascot. That's really the high class that we have in the Heisman Trophy voters.
Very distinguished. Thank you so much, Chip. That is Chip Patterson breaking down Rivalry Week for college football. You can also hear Chip on the Cover 3 podcast. In the very latest episode, the guys are talking more about the Ohio State-Michigan matchup and the CFP rankings. You can download and listen wherever you get your podcast, or you can scan the QR code.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.